Now then, so it's been a while since we put a video out, so we've got an hour this morning before we start listing again to put a short video out. So we had a little chat, figured out what we could do today. So today we're going to talk about shops. It's a bit of a different situation probably to people now that are reselling clothes, but I started from jumping straight into shops without selling anything online. Bearing in mind this was about 10-11 years ago that I first started doing this, so eBay wasn't really a big thing when it comes to reselling, not on a big scale anyway. Depop wasn't around, so basically if you weren't selling physically, it was very, very difficult to start selling vintage clothes. So the first memory I jumped into when it comes to reselling, which I only kind of remembered recently actually, was I worked in a nightclub in Newcastle where we'd finish at like 4 in the morning, and I was on peanuts, so I had to figure out how to make more income than I was at the time. So during the daytime when I wasn't working, I would go to the charity shops, find clothes, put them in a duffel bag. Saturday night comes 4 in the morning, open the duffel bag to my friends at work, and I just sell out of there. And I make a few quid here and there, but people would just have the tips for the day and go, okay, yeah, won that jumper, won that tee. Okay, sweet. So did that for a few weeks, and surprisingly I was selling stuff, kind of, which was like a weird thing. And yeah, so kind of it all started from there, and then stopped working there, and I tried to figure out what I wanted to do. Fortunately, I had a meeting with the council in Middlesbrough when I was kind of at a crossroads trying to figure out what my next step was in life, in work, in everything. And they had these pop-up shops available in Middlesbrough town centre within, it's called the Cleveland Centre, which is like an inside shopping retail space. And they took over an old, I don't know what it was, maybe it was kind of laid out like an office in there, and it was right next to HMV, so obviously you're going to get traffic there. So they had all these little stalls that were separated by these fake walls, and yeah, there was one space available. I told them I want to sell vintage clothes in there, told them about what I did, like the heads, and they said, yeah, cool. Let's do this. So showed me this little space in the corner, and it was awful. There was no footfall. I think maybe there's one empty shop next to me because they said someone was going in, but it was like way bigger, so I was just eyeing it up all the time. Anyway, there was within those shops there was different vendors in there. So basically it was a chance for people to test trade before they make the big jump into getting an actual unit, contracts, and making it all legit. So it's kind of middle ground, which is great for Middlesbrough Council to do that, because a lot of those shops kind of moved on to fill empty units within the town centre. There was people selling like stationery, like hobbycraft stuff, baby hampers, scooter shop, and a few other places. And yeah, I started there. I had no idea what I was doing, no experience in retail, and I just kind of put a few rails out with the money I had, bought some coat hangers, and yeah, just started selling my stuff I thrifted on the sales. Well, I'd say that selling, it wasn't selling at all. It was dead for about a week. And I was just on this little table, and I'd have my Mac up, and I just watched films, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't really work, because then again, like, you know, my own boss for the first time, what am I going to do? I'm sat here, clothes, everything's done. And then one day, like, some kid come around, and we were just chatting, and you know, we got on really well, and yeah, just got kind of like every day someone came in and bought something, just got busier and busier. But the idea I wanted when it came to the shop was, I liked shopping, but I didn't like shops. So I used to go in, say, JD when I was, you know, like 19, try and get a pair of trainers, and I'd be swarmed by staff and be like, you know, alright mate, like, what do you want? What can I help you with? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh man, like, I just want to be left alone and try and find some trainers I like. And then by the end of that, I'd just leave. I wouldn't even buy anything. So I always had a thought going into shops that I didn't kind of enjoy going in there because I'd be pressured to sell something. Like, you know, I'm a grown man, I know what I want, or even if I don't, I just want to have a little browse and relax. So when it came to having my own shop, I just figured out what I don't want it to be like. I don't want it to be a pressured situation. I don't want it to be pressured into sales. So I just thought, okay, let's throw a couch in here. When someone comes in, just have a chat with them. You know, and at the end of the day, with that shop there, I was paying £25 a week to have a little pop-up shop in, you know, a town centre, which is incredible. Therefore, I realised I don't need to pressurise, you know, people in buying stuff. I've got stuff, I might sell a few things and be able to pay rent. Like, I'm not a money-orientated guy. I don't need, you know, I don't need to pressurise people into sales. I'm happy to just, you know, take a couple quid and then that's it. As long as I can get petrol into work and I just keep putting money back into stock, then, you know, I'm happy. So created this environment where people would come in, we have a chat. I think I ended up putting a TV in there so people can just like watch whatever and just chill out. And, you know, more people come in and, you know, have a chat, and then it's just a snowball effect, and, you know, more people are interested to walk in. So did that for a little bit, made absolutely nothing for a couple of weeks, and then we have a big college in Middlesbrough. So people would come in and then, you know, maybe buy something or maybe not, and just say, you know, you should check it out, it's a cool place. Thing is, you know, people could come in and even if they didn't like it, at least they're coming in and then they're seeing what we do and seeing what I'm about, and then they might tell someone who actually enjoys that. So weeks pass, it was slowly getting busier, but I'm saying busier, it was still pretty dead. Anyway, this unit next to me, which is such a better unit, it's probably twice the size, because my unit was literally the size of just a normal bedroom, really. It was very small. So this unit became available. I told the council, you know, I really want to be in here, just kept ringing them every day, you know, this is empty, please don't move it. Moved in there, and as soon as I moved in there, it was a different story. Had probably twice the amount of rail space. I could fit a massive couch in there. I took my PS1 from home, plugged that in, so people could just literally chill out, play PS1, have a chat, and that was really cool. So did that. As soon as I started moved into there, it got busier and busier, and it got to a point on Saturdays where there was a queue going outside of it. So it was like one in, one out. I mean, to me, it was mind blowing. You know, I had no real business plan. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was literally just throwing clothes on a rail and, you know, hoping and praying that it would sell. So it got to this stage, I think probably a few months down the line, because this test trading was, I think the limit was 3 months. So it got to the end of 3 months, it was Christmas time, so bear in mind, obviously it's very much busier for retail. And you know, pretty much every day there was a I don't want to say a queue, but, you know, there's people waiting outside to come in. And that's when it kind of hit me. I was like, oh shit, this isn't a hobby anymore, this could be a career. So I kind of delved into it a little bit more, because it was crazy to think that I was just throwing some clothes on a rail and then just hoping for the best. But I realised the more I was put into it, the more I was getting out. So I would stay there past 5 o'clock, open the fire exit, lock myself in. The people would put down the shutters for the whole, I hope no one's listening, Janet from the market or anything, it'd be a nightmare for health and safety. But I used to wedge the back door open, one of the fire exits, so I could actually leave, because if not, I'd be locked in the whole unit overnight. And I used to tie-dye t-shirts upstairs in this, like, I found this place upstairs above the shopping centre. As you can imagine, all the space is just completely empty. It has been for years. And I found a sink and a kitchen. And I used to have like 50 tie-dye t-shirts on the floor at all times. I think if it wasn't for those tie-dye t-shirts, I probably wouldn't have made it, because I used to buy them for like a quid or two, the t-shirts, to buy the dye. And yeah, I wasn't relying on going out and getting stock. I know, you know, high street try and put tie-dye t-shirts in the summer stock every year, but it was just one of those years that just hit, and I was just like, the right time, it just used to fly out. But anyway, I realised that the more I was putting in, the more I was getting out. So I'd stay there late, do graft, and then, yeah, what I was doing was I was very fortunate. It was just clicking at the right time. So I started looking at units. I spoke to the council, I spoke to some estate agents and said, you know, this is what I'm doing at the moment. I want to grow, but obviously I'm very cautious because this isn't something I know about. So I looked at a load of different places on all different scales of a budget. So obviously, me coming from a place where I'm spending £25 a week to go in and try to spend, you know, some units like 15, 20 grand in Borough a year, which is like obviously a hell of a lot of money, a massive jump. You know, I was nowhere near that stage yet. So I was basically looking for the cheapest possible I could get, which was my own unit that I could make my own, I could do my own stuff in there. So actually found a place and I was getting shown around, and the estate agent was even saying to me like, why do you want to be here? I said, what do you mean you're the estate agent? You're trying to sell me this? He's like, no, I just don't understand. Like, no one wants to see this property. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I looked outside the window. I said, the university's there. That's a cut into the university over the road. And he was like, yeah, but that's students. And I was like, yeah, that's who I'm doing it for. He's like, all right, cool, whatever. So got that for like a really good price. It had I don't know what it used to be, but the floors were minging. It was like an office carpet. It had those ceilings where it's all square and fluorescent lights. So I worked my magic on it and tried to make it as, you know, as comfortable as possible from a telecoms office to a shop where people would be comfortable to come in and have a good time. So we had a shop in the front. We had, which was selling men's clothing. There was a little room in the back which is sell women's, and there's an alleyway through for the staff, and then there would be a little office where I'd have my sewing machine where I'd do my sewing in there, and then we have a storeroom in the back, and then we have another yard out the back which would we'd dry clothes, we'd shoot, we'd do all kinds of stuff there. In that shop, it was great because I could then move from just doing it in a space where it was monitored to just doing what the fuck I wanted. So that was a big step for me, and it kind of got me creatively going a lot more because it just I was kind of in control. So that was great. We did move there. I was then working on more reworked vintage stuff, which is great. It's always something I want to do, but obviously just never had the time. And it was all about just learning. It was about trying something, and that's the great thing about having, you know, a small space rather than going too big. Having, you know, picking a few of my mates that would just help me out. So there wasn't a massive stress on, you have to sell this, you have to do that, you have to do it. I'd just try something, and, you know, I'd see a damaged shirt and go, okay, you know, there's a hole there, we can make it into a dress, or we can put sleeves on it, whatever it was. We try and reuse as much as possible, and obviously thinking of the budgets that we were working with, that was very important. So we might buy some stock, I kind of didn't see that there. We'd rework that instead of throwing out, which is, you know, obviously huge in vintage clothing. So that shop went really well. Fortunately, I was able to bring a few of my creative mates in to sell some of their stuff. So I'd have, like, I remember Laddie sold his LS t-shirts, Lasker Sack t-shirts there. We'd have my mates that had Machine Lad in Newcastle, would sell their stuff. And it was really good because it would go really well with what I was selling. So I was selling vintage clothing, there was new clothing, really cool designs. So people would come in and maybe buy like a silk shirt and, you know, one of their t-shirts, and they'd go together. And also, you know, supporting your friends, and, you know, that's what it's all about. As well as that, I had my artist mate from LA, Phil Lumbang. He shipped a load of his shirts over, we sold them, and there's probably more I've completely forgot about, but it was just a really good opportunity to try that out. And also, you know, the idea of reselling someone's clothing was completely new to me, so it was experiencing that, trying to get my head around that as well. So that shop went really well. Signed up for a 5-year lease with a break clause at 3 years. After the 3 years came around, we were ready to move on to a bigger space. So from there, which again was, you know, relatively small when it comes to a retail clothing shop. We then moved into a huge, well, yeah, it was a big shop. It was all floors was 4 in total, but shop floors was 2. So we went from one side of Middlesbrough, which is kind of, I'd say on the outskirts, near the university, great football, but basically we were just getting university students that would pass, and then obviously people would tell their friends. We then moved to a prime location in the town centre, next to the bus stop, and that was a game changer. That was always something I wanted to do. I had my eye on that shop for about 5 years, but there was a shop in there before, and then it was empty for years. So I worked down the lease loads, paid a lot more less than they were actually asking for, which was great because there was no chance of me affording what they were asking for. So yeah, moved into there, and it was sick, right? So it was huge. It had a basement downstairs, which in the end I just said that to chop off the contract because it was minging down there, and I was like, I've got no responsibility whatever happens down here. And then it had a big ground floor with so when you actually went in, there was a big stairwell to the left which was raised, and there's a gorgeous I think it's like cast iron staircase going up into the first floor, which we did women's in there, and then up once again to the top floor was the office, store space, party space, whatever it was. It was just huge open space we could do whatever with. So the beautiful thing about the ground floor level was you walk in, it's all glass front, you turn to the left, and there's a big space where, I mean, as soon as I saw it, I knew it was a stage, and I remember just thinking, I can picture people on there performing. So with that in mind, I got my friend in to join us, Steve, who absolutely smashed it, and we made a railing system that we could actually move out the way if we wanted to throw events in there. We threw loads of events in there. We had a load of friends, an incredible local artists in there from Clean Cut Kid. Everything you thought would be yours by, slip between your fingers and you'll never know how. Never run away. Run away. Dylan Cartledge, Flower Mouth, my mate Robbie played at the opening. Here's a walk through the valley, shadow again. Take a look at my life and realize it's not there. No lesson in life is so hard. Hear my mama dreams and my mind is gone. God, who else we have? We had DJs. So we made this. My joiner made this this incredible DJ. Well, nobody would know it was a DJ desk, but it was a closed rail that was actually made behind, so you could set up DJs on, and it could just be a plug and play place. So you could have just mates just jump in and with a mini desk or CDJs and just start DJing. We did that a lot of times through the days. And then when we weren't throwing events on the evening, which we tried to do as much as possible, obviously the shop would just be open. So it was a big space. You know, I could buy, sell loads more than I wanted to, and a huge range of stuff. From, you know, we had a huge range of footy shirts. I remember I loved the range of Champion reverse weave sweatshirts, all in different colours. Yeah, it was just such a sick space. Really enjoyed being there. So that was the ground floor. Then we worked up to the first floor, and that was women's wear, where we'd have also, when you turned right, we'd have the couch again. We'd have a couch laid out. We'd have board games, PS1 again, obviously the OG. We'd have FIFA 97 in there, loads of other games, Crash Bandicoot, and people would just come in and play, and I absolutely love that because that's what it's about. You know, for me, it was always about creating a community rather than selling clothes. and that was so important to me. Middlesbrough's my hometown, and growing up in Middlesbrough, we had a few shops growing up, a few really good vintage shops, Deep, Toast, a few others I can't remember. But when I finally got that shop, I don't know what else there was, so it was just important to us to build a place where you can come and relax and just have a nice time with like-minded people. And then I was fortunate enough to have really good mates that, you know, worked with us, that, you know, kept that environment alive all the time. So we move on to the women's floor. A lot of rework stuff there. You know, I had some young talented seamstresses that helped me out doing some really sick projects up there as well as I remember we doing a vintage Tommy Hilfiger women's range in there, which is really cool. And then you move upstairs, and that was just another job of its own. Normally that would be my office. I had a printing machine up there, stock room. I mean, it was crazy. But I always saw that space as an area that where I could do something with rather than that. Which moves us on to yard sales, and probably one of the best things, I enjoy the most, for sure. Yard sales have always been crazy. We first started doing yard sales at the previous shop, the one that was opposite the university, and we throw gazebos outside, and we throw a load of rails out, boxes as well, tubs, whatever, and everything would be sold between £1 and £5. I remember the first time we did it, people were like, what the hell are you doing? And then the more times we do it, we probably do it like once a month or once every 2 months, and it just gets busier and busier. And it'd be great because it gives people the chance to, you know, come down and buy with us that might not be able to afford, you know, like something in the shop, but it still makes them a part of what we're doing. And those kind of stuff, it might be, you know, like a missing button or just something that just doesn't suit the shop, and we throw it out there. It means we can go through more stock and we can sell more stuff and maybe get the money back and, you know, reinvest in getting stock for the shop. So the idea of the yard sales, because basically I'm losing money on it, but it's just a good way to move stuff out of the shop and get it on people's backs. So I'd get my friends down to give me a hand, which was class. My mates would just come down, and, you know, some might be electricians or work in bars or whatever, and they come down like, what are you doing here? Like, it'd be crazy. So we used to take over the whole parking spots outside that shop there. So moving on now into the shop on Newport Road, on the big shop. Upstairs, I don't know what we did, maybe we threw like bed sheets over the computers or something, you know, that was in there. I can't remember, but we hid it somehow, maybe tarpaulin, and then made all that space into a yard sale. And seeing that was bonkers. It was such a sick space and so big that we just railed it all out with cheap stuff. And I remember the first one we did, it would have been the first one we did. We had a queue like outside the shop, round the corner, and I had no idea, because these yard sales are just kind of like things I just think in my head, and I go, okay, let's do this next week. Okay, cool. I don't really think about it further than what's in my mind, you know, like, okay, I'm just selling this in this space, that's it. And when I came in that morning at, I think 8 o'clock, people were there since like 6, and I was like, this is crazy. Like, so we went out, made as many people cups of tea and donuts as we could, get them all out, appreciate everyone that was there, because I just couldn't get my head around it. And yeah, we just opened up and just had a mad sale. I remember we did another one where we had a bag sale as well. So we had these carrier bags, I can't remember the dimensions, but like this big, and you could fill them for a tenner. So no matter what it was, you just fill it. And then again, that was just a crazy event. And they're the stuff I really like doing. It was sick, because not only are we making a shop, you know, where you just come in, you buy a product, you pay for it, and then you leave. I want to create everything around it. Yes, that's the base. That's, you know, in reality our main, I won't say purpose, but job there. We want to create all these things around it. So getting DJs in, having a pizza party. We do events sometimes on Saturdays where we bring another vendor in. So I remember we did work with Milky May, who makes her own prints. Probably got some around here somewhere. House is littered with them, in a good way. I mean, on the walls, not on the floor. And she'd come in, sell her products, showcase. You know, it's not what we're doing, but it's about just, you know, showing Middlesbrough, this is what local talented people are doing, and if they can get a kickback from that, then that's great. And that was always important for me, is like making this platform, and then, you know, people that maybe starting, you know, from home doing it, bring them up and then showcase their, you know, talents and skills and what they've got. So it was about making a space where we could do that. So I was really proud of being able to do that there. We had a bunch of really talented people there that have, you know, gone on and absolutely smashed it. From there, we'd have like hairdressers in that would just have a chair in the corner and just like do cuts. I remember Trim Westwood did that, crazy sick name, and that was so much fun. And then the penultimate part of having that shop, and one of the proudest moments that I've had in my career is there's this nightclub in Middlesbrough, probably the best nightclub in the world, called the Empire. It is what it says in the tin. It was an old Empire, a theatre, and I remember going in there when I was about 14, 15. And just having the best time. First nightclub went to, first a lot of stuff in there actually, but just such a sick venue. And we got approached to hold our own event in there on a Saturday night for Milk, which is probably the biggest night in Middlesbrough, which is obviously a big thing. So we did our event in there. We took over a room. We had our DJs, all our pals in there. We had people from the shop in there. We had a pre-event in the shop where we had live music, pizzas, drinks, whatever, and moved on to the Empire. All the staff wore our t-shirts that we designed, collab with Milk, which was crazy. And there was our logo was like everywhere on screens. Everyone was, you know, dressed up and kind of knew what was going on. And I remember just kind of sitting back on my own and seeing my logo on the screen. I was like, this is the best moment of my life. Like that, I've hit the ceiling here. This is incredible. And I was so proud, because it was always a plan to just try and make it in my own town and just do the very best I can. And, you know, then doing an event in a nightclub when you're considered as a clothing shop was exactly where I wanted to be. You know, it was always about creating more, building this community, and kind of building outside the walls, brick and mortar walls of a shop. And for that, you know, I'll always remember. So that, as far as we get for shops, that's my long contract shops. But when it comes to pop-up shops, that's a different world. So we've done all sorts of pop-up shops from Newcastle, Manchester, London, Ibiza. But instead of me chatting your head off, we'll leave that for another day. Okay? So thank you for watching.